You have to understand, the sound of a kitten lord's armor cracking isn't something you forget. It's not like breaking a stick. It's like a gunshot in a library. I saw the whole thing happen right there in the polished crystalline hallways of the ethereal Vanguard Citadel. 1 second, Carcos was the apex predator. 600 pounds of insectoid nightmare. And the next, he was learning a very painful lesson about physics. They built a citadel of rules but forgot to outlaw physics. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind about 10 minutes. I'm Kalen, by the way. Silid class. We're light. We float. And generally, we try not to get crushed by the heavy worlders. I was drifting back from a stellar cartography lecture that could have put a supernova to sleep, just minding my own business. The Citadel is usually this beacon of order, you know. Shiny floors, polite drone patrols, the hum of ventilation scrubbers. But when I turned the corner into Sector 4 gantry, the vibe changed instantly. It was the sound that stopped me. A wet, desperate gasping. I peeked around the bulkhead and my stomach dropped. It was Tycho. Poor Moskin Tycho, who wouldn't hurt a fly because he's practically made of vegetables. He was pinned against the wall, feet dangling off the deck. And holding him, Carcos. The guy is a kitten lord, a walking tank with an exoskeleton that can deflect small arms fire. Flanking him were Granite, a literal pile of sentient rocks, and Sludge, a plasmoid who looked like he was vibrating with cruel excitement. It was a classic 3-on-1 setup. I froze. I admit it. I stood there calculating the odds, and the math was ugly. If I stepped in, I'd just be the second smear on the wall. That's the bystander curse, right? You wait for security. You wait for an officer. You wait for permission. Then I heard the boots. Not the scuttle of a bug or the slide of slime. Boots. Rhythmic. Heavy. Confident. Mara turned the corner. She's a Terran. Human. Earthborn. High-gravity evolution. Dense bone structure. The works. She didn't look like much compared to Carcos. Maybe half his height. No claws. No armor. Just soft skin in a standard-issue uniform. But she walked right into the kill zone like she owned the mortgage on the entire station. "Hey!" she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air like a laser. "Put him down." Carcos swiveled his massive head, mandibles clicking in that way that usually makes cadets panic. He laughed, a grinding buzzing sound. "Walk away, soft skin," he hissed. "Unless you want to be flattened." I wanted to yell at her to run. I really did. Diplomacy is fine until the kitten lord grabs your throat. But Mara didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She just stepped closer, entering the radius where Carcos could easily reach her. I said, Mara repeated, her voice dropping an octave, "Put him down or I'll make you." Granite stepped forward, cracking his rocky knuckles, and sludge began to ooze outward to block her exit. The air in the corridor grew heavy, charged with that electric feeling you get right before a capacitor blows. Carcos dropped Tycho, not to release him, but to free up his claws for a fight. "You want to play, human?" Carcos roared and lunged. It happened so fast I almost missed it. Carcos threw a claw that should have taken Mara's head off. But she didn't retreat. She stepped in. She moved inside his guard, grabbing the limb mid-swing. It was a textbook example of kinetic redirection. She used his own massive force against him, twisting his arm at an angle a kitten limb was never meant to bend. Granite came in like a landslide. I mean, the guy is made of literal stone. A punch from him usually turns cadets into paste. But Mara, she didn't even look worried. She ducked under his swing so fast she was a blur and grabbed his wrist. I saw her plant her feet, and I swear I heard the deck plates groan under the stress. She pivoted, using his own momentum against him, and launched him. A 300-pound rock monster went sailing through the air. He collided with Sludge with a sound like a wet sponge hitting a windshield. Sludge tried to recover, his gelatinous form bubbling up to engulf Mara's leg with acidic intent. But she was already moving. She reached into the slime. Crazy, right? And jabbed her thumb against a pulsing nerve node floating in his mass. Sludge just deflated, dropped like a bag of water. That left Carcos, and he was furious. He charged. No fancy martial arts this time. Just pure blind rage. He was going to crush her. I wanted to look away, but Mara stepped forward to meet him. She waited until the last possible second, until I could smell the ozone coming off his armor. And then she struck. Not a punch. A precise open palm strike right to the center of his chest plate. Crack. It was the loudest sound I've ever heard in a hallway. The Kitten Lord's exoskeleton, the stuff that shrugs off laser fire, shattered at the stress point. Carcos folded, gasping. His legs gave out beneath him. Silence. Absolute silence. Then the sirens started screaming. Overseer Prism arrived with a squad of security drones. Prism is a crystalline entity, all sharp angles and cold logic. And she looked ready to expel everyone within a 5-meter radius. She looked at the groaning Carcos, the unconscious granite, the puddle that used to be sludge. Then she looked at Mara, who was checking her fingernails like she was bored. Cadet? Prism's voice resonated through our skulls. You have assaulted 3 students. Explanation. Now. Mara didn't even stand at attention. She pointed at Tycho, who was shivering but unharmed in the corner. They were killing him, she said flatly. I stopped it. Protocol dictates you contact security. Prism droned, light refracting angrily through her facets. You filed no report. Mara looked Prism directly in the eye, or whatever facet served as one. I checked the logs before I came here, she said. They've had 17 complaints filed against them in the last cycle. All deleted. All ignored. Your protocol is broken. She stepped closer. And for a second, the crystalline overseer actually looked intimidated. Where I come from, we don't wait for permission to do the right thing. Terrans don't file reports. They file knuckles. I thought Prism was going to vaporize her. I really did. The tension was thick enough to chew on. But then Prism paused. She looked at the broken armor on the floor. She looked at Tycho. And for the first time in Citadel history, bureaucracy blinked. The fallout was fast. Carcos and his crew were gone by morning, expelled and shipped back to their home worlds. But the real shock came the next week. A new rule added to the handbook. Cadets are calling it the Mara Mandate. It basically says that if you see someone in danger, you are allowed, no, required, to intervene. Yesterday, I saw Tycho walking to class. He wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was walking right down the center of the corridor, laughing with a couple of friends.